Hello everyone, if you're new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Childish and I have very little experience playing Resident Evil games. I've played some Resident Evil 5 and 6 probably about 15 years ago. Outside of that, my girlfriend and I watch the Resident Evil movies probably about once a year, so I thought it'd be a fun tradition on the channel to start playing Resident Evil games for Halloween. I feel like this game got off to a rough start. I don't know, but let me know down in the comments if this is supposed to be happening. I tried playing the game again after this recording and was actually able to see the road, so I don't think that was supposed to happen. But I'm kind of still unsure if this is just something that can happen or if this has to do with me running this game on a Steam Deck. Right off the bat, I can say that the atmosphere was exactly what I was looking for out of this game. Honestly, it might even be a bit more than I bargained for. The way you're put into these cramped spaces and your eyes kind of have to adjust at first when you're first turning on the light. I honestly went into this game thinking it was going to be kind of like Outlast or Alien Isolation, which are two of my favorite all-time horror games. But I was a little bit surprised to find out that this game is a bit more action than the previous two titles that I mentioned, and it's a really unique take on survival horror. I don't have a lot of experience with the Silent Hill games other than Silent Hill Homecoming, and for some reason Resident Evil Biohazard reminded me so much of Homecoming. And if you guys want me to cover the Silent Hill franchise, let me know in the comments down below. One of the things I found most unique about this game was the tapes that you could watch. It gives the writers the ability to give us another perspective without even really leaving the perspective of Ethan. We still only know what he knows, but now we have this kind of fear of dying because we know we're no longer playing as the main character. And I feel like it does a good job of building up the Baker family before you've even really met any of them. I don't know if that made sense, but that's what I was thinking when I was playing the first tape.
Hillbilly Joe and his family go missing.
Not hillbillies, the Bakers. Jack and Marguerite Baker. And they were quiet, not backward. A lot of bad rumors about their son, Lucas. Bad seed, apparently.
I like how in this title you're kind of just playing as a regular guy looking for his wife. You're not this crazy action hero like Chris, and it really helps to sell the survival horror aspect of the game. I can't tell if it's because I was playing on Steam Deck or because the game is almost a decade old, but the game looked really grainy and blurry and just not very good in the daylight. I feel like the game really shines visually in dark, cramped spaces. I like the twists that this game gives you. Something's clearly wrong with Mia, but this game builds up this uneasiness as if something's waiting for you around the corner, only to realize that Mia was the threat all along. This game was gory and gross and just outright gruesome in the best way possible. I love the moment where we're finally introduced to the family. The meal scene is probably one of the only parts of this game I had seen before playing it, and honestly it's just one of the most iconic parts of the game.
Welcome to the family, son. Where am I? What the hell?
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's time for supper.
Bitch wasn't no good if it hit him.
Yes.
The casual dismemberment in this game was something I just found really silly. It kind of took me out of the game just seeing hands and legs casually reattached. Even when we're given an explanation about it later on in the game, it still just feels quite silly. What locked me back in though was knowing that Jack could just burst through the wall at any given moment. And the boss fight with Jack in the garage was one of the most tense boss fights I've ever played in a survival horror game. We come across a VHS tape from Mia, and I kind of like how it allows you to peer ahead at what's to come in the next area. This was actually one of my favorite segments after beating the game, because it foreshadows some things and gives you so much without even really telling you anything. After this, we came in contact with the Molded for the first time, and I'm not a huge fan of this enemy. They're more of a nuisance than an actual obstacle to overcome. And then once you get to having a chainsaw fight with Jack, I kind of thought this was a little too over the top, and I much prefer the garage boss fight with Jack over this one. But then I got to Marguerite, and holy crap, I did not like the body horror. Not because it was bad, but because it worked too well for me. She reminded me of the Wendigos from Until Dawn, which I think is a well-designed, horrific character. This is where the game really shines and is such a standout portion of the game. There's plenty of space to move around, and it's not nearly as cramped as the first area, but that also means Marguerite also has more room to be able to move around. There's enough items and ammo and space to get around that I never really felt stuck at this point in the game. And I really feel like the Marguerite portion of the game really highlights Resident Evil 7 at its best. Marguerite is not only peak Resident Evil 7, but I think she's the most horrifying and hardest member of the family to take down. Now we get to Lucas. Lucas was my least favorite member of the family. Not that this was a bad portion of the game or that he's a poorly written character, because he's not. I just feel like this part of the game kind of fell flat with its Jigsaw inspired puzzles and antics. And having the molded be all over the house at this point I thought was a little underwhelming, because this enemy I felt was already such a low point for the game. They aren't even that big of a nuisance at this point in the game, because you can just run right past them and save the ammo. They're kind of just things that are in the way at this point, and I would have rather had less enemies that were more interesting rather than this horde of uninteresting enemies. After making short work of Lucas, we end up finding Mia and Zoe tied up together, and we're interrupted by Jack in his final form. This boss fight was one of the more interesting in the game, and honestly I can say that Jack has some of the more interesting boss fights in the game in general. With him being so massive, we have to go up and down to target his weak points, and this really helped the fight stand out from everything else in the game. But in order to finally take Jack down, we have to use one of the cures made by Zoe. And this sets up the big choice we have to make in the game. Do we use the remaining cure on Mia or Zoe? I went with Mia because it seems like the more canonical decision, but it doesn't really feel right. Every time Ethan sees his wife, she's trying to kill us. She's constantly lying to us, and she even cut off our hand, and the only time we really get to see that she cares about Ethan is through a VHS tape. Meanwhile, Zoe has been helping us along the way and is responsible for us getting this far into the game. We've only met Zoe the one time, but she seems like the more reasonable pick of the two. After this, Ethan gets captured, and we're now playing as Mia, as she slowly regains her memory and she pieces together who Eve is. Playing as Mia was a good change of pace for me. Mia gets an assault rifle and remote bombs, and it really helps her stand out as more of like a badass than Ethan is. After restoring Mia's memories, we switch back to Ethan's point of view, where we get one of the most well voice acted scenes in the game, of course done by Jack.
Not exactly, son. She just... she forces her way into your mind, your soul. You can't fight back. You are connected to her, and you can't resist the urge to... Oh, you're a different person after that.
Then we head off to the mines, which was one of the more bland areas in the game. We get some more molded, and we get a big info dump where we're told that Evelyn is the old grandmother who's been sneaking up behind us the whole game. And we find out that Ethan is infected, and that's why he's able to brush off the casual dismemberment. We make our way back to the old house, and we see some hallucinations, and we finally find Evelyn, who is not very happy to see us. We have a pretty underwhelming boss fight with Evelyn, and then Chris shows up to take all the credit. We get into the helicopter with Mia, happy ending, roll credits. I know I kind of ran through the ending of the game, but I feel like this game had something to say in the first half. Hell, I feel like this game had something to say in the third quarter. But I feel like once you're done with the Baker family and you've cured Mia, this game becomes a very run-of-the-mill horror experience. Now don't get me wrong, even with my complaints, this is still one of the best horror games I've ever played. It gave me that same feeling I got when I played Outlast for the first time, and it has me really excited to play Resident Evil 8. From what I've seen, this game was a huge success, and it was a return to form for the franchise. And with Resident Evil 9 right around the corner, I'm glad I picked up these games when I did. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if there's any more horror games that you want to see me play, please let me know down in the comments below. Until next time, peace.